We're live. I'm having fun and games with insurers today. They didn't, they cancelled my insurance policy because I thought I was paying monthly direct debit, and I was, but apparently that comes to an end when I thought it was ongoing. So I'm just having fun and games with them and looking for new quotes. Is it me, or has insurance gone up ridiculous amounts this year? It's absolutely blooming crazy. And I'm not the only one that says it. What is going on? It went up something like 200 quid, and I've had no claims, had no nothing, and I just don't understand why. But anyway, that's probably not the most interesting radio. So probably won't talk about that too much now. I do have a fantastic guest for you today, and I'm going to get him on in just a moment. But we'll do some hellos. I want to know who we got on. And I'll do some hellos to you folks. And after done that, we will get our guest on and have a good old chat with him about comedy and other such great things. Right. So any comments? No comments so far. Goodness me, you're quiet. Well, I'm going to get my guest on. If you want to ask about anything to do with comedy, we're going to talk about comedy, going to talk about mental health and all that sort of stuff. Hello, Julie Boyce. You're at the Bowls Club today. With Mum at the Bowls Club. Gotta watch that lifestyle, Julie Boyce. It's going to catch up with you. There you go. Too much bowling can have a bad effect on people. Isn't that right, Henry Riley? Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me, Neil. How are you?
Oh, it's great to have you on. Yeah, I saw you perform. I think it was a whole lot. Was it a whole lot of comedy I met you at?
Yes, in Windsor.
That's it. A whole lot of comedy in Windsor. So welcome to the show. And I thought I really want to get you on and talk about all things comedy and all that sort of stuff. And with a bit of mental well-being thrown in there, if that's all right.
That's perfect. Yeah. Very excited to be on here. Thank you very much.
No, you're very welcome, sir. So how long have you been in the crazy comedy game?
I've been doing comedy for just over 2 years now. Over 2 years, yeah. So 1st of June, 22. Yeah, I am. I'm absolutely loving it. Yeah, it's tough. Don't get me wrong. There's been a lot of hardship along the way, but without a doubt, it's 100% worth it.
Yes, I prefer to call it feedback.
Yeah.
I don't know if you do what I do, because with anyone that's not in comedy might not realise this, but we test an awful lot, don't we? That's why open mic nights and new material nights, particularly with a whole lot of comedy with Graham and Elaine Blackmore, are very, very useful. And I kind of have a red, amber, and green. Red, nah. It felt funny in my head when I was drunk the night before. It's just not. No matter how much I want it to be. Amber, yeah, maybe it needs work. And green goes straight in. And I've had quite a few of both. What's been your best and worst gigs so far? I'll tell you mine if you tell me yours.
There has been so many of both. There's been a few. I think I like to always say, I think the first time I smashed it was my best gig. It's not my best since, but the one I'll always remember, I was 5 gigs in, 5 times I've ever been on a stage. And it was I said it actually recently on a podcast, shared the story where the 4th gig was one of my worst at the time. I was really lazy with the writing. I was really content with not trying any harder. I just strolled in and I took a big hit. So I had about a week, just over a week, to practice and get better.
Right.
So what I've really done was I need to prove to everyone and myself that I can do it, that this is something I can do. And I've really dedicated that week, wrote loads of new stuff, perfected all the old stuff. And I went on and everything hit. I applause breaks, got laughs. And I come off stage and I was like, yeah, this is something. I'm not being deluded, this is something I can do. So I always remember that as being one of the best ones. And I think one of the worst ones, there's been a few where even if material just doesn't hit, if it's new, like you said, and it's not good, that I don't count them as bad gigs. Like you said, they're very necessary, very vital. But I think one of the worst ones I had was when I was hosting a show, and I was just hosting so poorly that in the interval I was just I don't even want to go back on stage anymore. So I got one of the other comics to host the second half. It was going that badly. Yeah, but the thing is, I've learned from it, because it wasn't going as badly as I thought. It was just a room full of just comedians, and I thought, I'm going to try and host this show the way I've hosted shows before, but it wasn't a packed out audience. It wasn't loads of real people who had come for the show. It was just like 5-6 other comedians. I should have just treated it as it was instead of pretending in my head it wasn't, because everyone was just sitting there going like, what are you doing? But they were also like, and then I started getting really defensive, and I started apologizing a lot, and they were like, why are you apologizing? It's fine. And I was worried about like the vibe of the night, and it was,
I think once it gets in our heads, you get that kind of brainworm that it's going wrong. And I think we're our own worst critics, because I find it a lot in radio as well. I can think, oh God, because I do, 7 radio shows a week, and I can go back and think, God, that was an awful show. But then a couple of months later, I'll go back and listen to it, and I think, actually, it was all right. It wasn't that bad. I think it's all whether we're enjoying it or not. And I think the more we enjoy it and give ourselves permission to enjoy it, I think the audience can get on board with that a lot more.
But that is the necessary of always filming your gigs as well as a comedian. Is you always you don't have to record every single gig.
It's useful though, isn't it?
But it is so useful, because you can walk out of there and in your head you can think, that was rubbish. I was rubbish, and everyone hated me. And you watch the thing back, and you're like, oh no, it was great. That joke was much better than I thought when I was on stage. Because sometimes like the lighting is so in your face, you can't see everyone, or sometimes the sound is right next to you, so you can't even hear them either. And you watch the recording back, and you're like, oh, that was a lot better than I thought it did. So
and I also find it useful, because my best gig, I think, because I've done comedy second time round. Once when I was much younger in my 20s, now I'm in my 50s, getting back into the crazy game, thanks to Graham and Elaine Blackmore. And I had a gig in Folkestone, and there was 150 people, and it just smashed, and you could just hear people screaming with laughter at the end. I'm like, yes. And my worst, because I've been quite lucky, I've had a sort of 95% hit rate with my material, apart from on this gig. And I was just about 3 minutes into it, and I just felt, because you can feel the energy in a room, can't you? And and if it's good, it feels like kind of, how can I put this without sounding weird? It feels like warmth, and it's like coming towards you, and you kind of feed off it, and it's a nice vibe. But this just felt hollow, and I couldn't explain that. I'm like, something's off here. And I got a complaint as well. I was being too rude, which was interesting, because it wasn't profane what I was saying. It was just a bit, I don't know. But then again, comedy's supposed to be a bit edgy, isn't it?
Was there any like children in the audience or anything? Was it like in the daytime?
No, it wasn't that. Apparently, I was punching down at the working classes, which I wasn't. That was bullshit.
Some people. The only time that I feel you can get told off for being too raunchy, if there's children, like I've had gigs in daytimes at festivals in like middle of the day and all that stuff, but I don't know. There's some people who do like to nitpick and try and say, oh, your material, it's a tricky one, especially like, because you never want to offend anyone, but then you want to justify what you're saying. You want to defend what you're saying as well. So it is that like debate of, whether, you can say what you've said or not. And just some people's opinions are only opinions.
Yeah. I always put a disclaimer on whoever books me. I say, right, are there going to be kids there? And I'll make it absolutely clear. I mean, I sing songs about doing unspeakable things with hoovers. It's probably not suitable. Probably not suitable for children. But I give that disclaimer. And if they go, yes, that's fine, I'll go, okay. So as long as I've given the disclaimer and made it very clear, and they know very clear what I do, I don't have too much of a problem with it. And if people want to nitpick, it's up to them. But I mean, people will complain about the most innocuous things. I think people hear a trigger word, and then they go off into they call it trigger, and then on the keyboard and bang, bang, bang. And so many, it happens a lot with presenters at LBC. People take out of context what they say, and they get these vicious emails. And it's like, but I never even said that. Rewind, listen to what I said. I'm not even saying that. You're actually reacting to something I didn't say. Pay attention.
We done a gig. We done the Brighton Fringe, right? The company that I've been running, the Other Side Comedy, and we done
how was Brighton Fringe?
It was great. It was amazing. It was really fun. I'm sure we'll talk about it later. But just on that point is that one of those nights we had an audience that was like that. That was, they hear a buzzword and they switch off before even hearing what you're going to say about it. So there was a comic who's one of my favorites, a good friend of mine, really funny, Chris Alley, and he had some jokes. His jokes are so funny and really well written, but to some audiences, if he starts by saying that buzzword, and it's the same as all comics, if you're performing in front of this type of crowd, right? If you just say a buzzword, they're just shut off. They'll just turn off. They'll, like robots, they'll just power down, and they don't even want to hear what you're going to say, you know. And I think that's really bad for comedy, to not even give the comedian a chance to go, oh, okay, where are you going to
It
go with
is,
this? What are you going
and
to
there's
say?
an awful lot of it, and there's another category. I don't know if you find these. I remember once, it was when Steve Wright, radio icon, passed away, and his best friend, who I know is a great man in the radio industry, a guy called Gavin, did a beautiful tribute to him. But he was talking about this kind of thing, because it's similar in radio as well. And you have to be a lot more careful in radio. You know, not this, by the way. We can swear here. We're not governed by Ofcom here. But if the odd naughty word comes out, there's no problem here.
Okay.
But you have to be generally very careful in radio. And there's this group of people, Henry, I don't know if you agree with this, called the protectors. And they kind of get unhappy on behalf of other people.
Oh, yeah.
When the people there getting cross for probably thought it was funny or aren't bothered, but these people kind of get on their high horse for other people. And I just think they don't need your help. Don't interfere. Deal with your own life. Get a life, you know.
And it almost just takes away any sort of like individual opinion. If these people, because I know exactly who, like the type of people you're talking about, I've met loads of them, and it's like you're taking away your own ability to think and have opinions if always you're just thinking, oh, you shouldn't say that, you shouldn't be allowed to say that. There's been times where there are people that aren't in that, you know, social grouping of whoever they feel like should be offended, and they just they say, oh, you should be offended. And the people that, you know, it just becomes a whole big conundrum that it doesn't make any sense, you know.
I mean, for example, I used to tell a story, and it involved a lady who was Indian, and it made it funnier because she was Indian. I won't share the story now, but it did. So to say someone's Indian is not being racist. I didn't say I didn't like Indian people. No. I didn't say I have a problem with Indian people. I just said the lady was Indian. It's no more racist than saying I'm English. You know, which is true. But then people are like, you can't say that. That's racist. I'm like, well, how can it be racist to describe someone as Indian? That's not racist. You know,
it's not. No.
Pardon?
No, it's not. That's the thing. Some people,
and these people, you know, they will get their cudgels out. And these are this group. It's the protectors. And I think I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but if comedy gets sanitized so much, I mean, I don't know how. You're much younger than me. I don't know if you remember Terry and June or are aware of Terry and June. It's a 70s sitcom. You probably know June Whitfield as the mum in Ab Fab. You remember? But she had a sitcom with Terry Scott back in the day, and it was called Terry and June. They're now putting content warnings on there that it might offend some people.
Yeah.
And it wasn't offensive. My parents wouldn't not let me watch that. I mean, there were some things they wouldn't let me watch, but it certainly wasn't Terry and bloody June. It was ridiculous. But if it becomes so sanitized like radio has, it's all become very sanitized, very generic. And I take your point. It does stop people thinking for themselves and having an opinion. So all the protectors listening, please stop doing it. They don't need your protection. Sort your own life out.
But as a comedian, though, it is fun going around different parts of the UK. Like, I know people that have only gigged in London, and the crowds in London, you don't realise until you start going to other places. So I've gigged more London and also the home counties further down south, even up north and places like that, right? And you really do see different audiences, like where some jokes, I mean, I'm not really an offensive comedian. I always just take the piss out myself, really. That's just my shtick, is just you know, self-deprecating and stuff like that. But there are people who I've seen do well in London and Brighton and not really anywhere else. And I've seen people who don't do well in London and Brighton, but do better in places in like Gloucestershire. And it is always fun just to go around and test what the crowds are, what audiences are like. Yeah,
very
exactly.
So. I mean, I've done a few home counties. I've done places like Milton Keynes. I've done haven't done Luton yet, trying to avoid that. I've done Brighton, done Kent, and done the ones in London. And you're right. And I found, for me, because I do song parodies, as you know, where it wasn't a bad gig. It was where there was more. It was more of a sketch comedy club. and there's all people in amazing outfits doing sketches, and it was very clever.
Mhm.
It's not my kind of thing particularly, but there again, I wasn't their kind of thing particularly either.
Yeah,
It wasn't
yeah,
bad. It was just a bit meh. It wasn't the best match, shall we say? Got a
yeah.
question from Fat Scotty. Henry, great to see you. Where do you draw inspiration from for your content? You must get asked that a lot.
Hello, Fat Scotty.
He doesn't mind being called that. That's fine.
I'm assuming he's chose to be called that. I don't know, but
Yes, it's self-created moniker. It's fine.
to draw inspiration for my content, to be honest, I haven't been asked that question before. Normally, if I'm doing observational comedy, which is what I'm trying to lean into more recently, it is just about what's going on in my life, to be honest. If things are happening, or places I've been, I like to always make, if I'm performing out of London, I like to always make jokes about the town I'm in, at least just like one joke or 1 minute of material, because it makes the audience feel included. It gives like different every time, and it's just a fun like writing task. Draw inspiration. There wouldn't be anyone in particular that I draw inspiration from for doing something like that. But if I go to somewhere, like say Windsor, inspiration is what I've noticed in the last 10 minutes of being there. And I think Windsor was really fun because the walk between the station and the pub was about 7-minute walk. And in that space, there was about 45 souvenir gift shops. And it was like, you have to make a joke about that.
Souvenir gift shops.
Just overwhelming, like the amount of, I done a joke there when I was just trying to find, something from the shop, like something normal, but instead they didn't have it, but instead they have like hundreds of different Queen Elizabeth bobbleheads and cardboard cutouts of King Charles and Beefeater costumes and all of that stuff. And it's crazy. So I always like to do stuff like that. But it's hard when you do jokes about where you are, because you could end up thinking of a really good one and then think, well, now I can't really do it again. Like when I was in Ipswich, I was making jokes of them about Norwich and Ipswich, and they were loving that. And I tried to do it in London just because the jokes were good, but they just weren't there for it because you're performing in North London and they don't care about Ipswich or Norwich. But other inspiration, I just joke about myself. I think just going down a whole stereotypical Essex stuff and taking the mick out of stereotypes and all of that. But I don't know. I think it's a bit easy, a bit of easy target. I'm trying to move away from that a bit more. But I don't know. Audiences love it when you take the mick out yourself. So it's a balance.
I think it makes them feel comfortable, doesn't it? I think they feel safe with you. And they're, he's all right, he's up for a laugh, and then you can kind of lull them in and then start to turn the tables and take this out of them.
Exactly. And if you're on stage, no matter what you're gonna say, if you've spent the first minute or two taking the mick out of yourself, then you're kind of allowed to take the mick out of other people and other things within reason.
Yes, it's almost an unwritten rule. Maybe it's a British thing. Do you think?
Definitely. Yeah.
Tell us about the Fringe. How did the Brighton Fringe go? I did a couple of gigs there last year with my friend Colin Etches. Do you know Colin Etches?
I don't know. No.
You'll meet him pretty soon. He's good lad, based up in the Midlands, but he's down there quite a lot. But yeah, so tell us about the Brighton Fringe. How did it go?
It was really good. So I run an open mic in London, in Hampstead Heath now, called The Other Side. I've dabbled with a few others, Comedy Tonight and The Other Side, it was in Paddington at one point and all that. But we took a show, me and my friend Desmond, we took a little compilation mixed bill to Brighton Fringe for 3 nights, Friday, Saturday and Sunday.
Desmond who?
Desmond Craddock. I
know another Desmond in comments.
But I don't think he's done a whole lot of comedy actually.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not sure, but Brighton, it was so good. Ben Carter, Half the Camel Productions. I keep going on podcasts and shouting him out, but I can't not because he makes it so easy and so swift. To anyone who's thinking of running shows at Fringe, Brighton Fringe, definitely do it next year. Go for Ben Carter. He makes things so easy. It was really good. It was really fun. We managed to get the hottest weekend of the year.
Fantastic.
So that was a treat. We had other friends, other comedians going down there. So we all hung out on a Saturday. There was maybe about
Oh, what a
30 of
laugh.
us comedians. Yeah, just drinking beers on the beach, like having a
Oh,
laugh.
idyllic. Have
We
you
had
done Edinburgh yet?
Yeah. No, I haven't done Edinburgh.
Well, I was in
To be
Edinburgh
honest,
Virgin till last year. I went up with a friend last year, and it was
yeah,
just
yeah.
it's again like you described Brighton. Apart exactly the same, apart from there's no beach, but apart from that, it's if you just imagine this really vibrant, fun town where there's a real party on, and everyone's up, and everyone's lively, and everyone's having a fantastic time, and it's Tuesday night. You know,
Yeah.
7 nights a week. It's absolutely fantastic vibe. But Brighton was good as well. Did you do a compilation show, or do you have an hour show?
Yes. We done an hour, but we split that between 4 comics and an MC. And it was so. And if anything, I prefer doing it like that because one of the nights, if the audience are a bit rusty, audience are a bit unsure if they're up for it or not. At least you've got the other comics to know that it was more the audience rather than you haven't got, like, you don't put too much pressure on yourself trying to win them
Yes.
over or anything. You kind of give in and be like, right, this isn't going to be as fun. And then on the Saturday, it was so good. We sold out all our shows as well.
Well done.
And it was the
That's great. I
venue.
mean, because it's not
Yeah.
easy to get bums on seats at Fringes, I would imagine.
No, we're struggling at the moment. We've got Camden Fringe coming up in August, and we're struggling. We've only sold about 10% of the tickets, so I'm really trying to push and promote that on Facebook and stuff like that. But
Where can people go to find that? I'll pop it on the screen.
the Canal Caf Theatre, it's on their website or the Camden Fringe website as well. But that, I'm really looking forward to that. It's a great lineup and it's a great venue. You just need to sell a few more tickets for that. But yeah, but luckily Brighton Fringe, Hartford Campbell, they promote the hell out of it for you. And you, as much as we were doing it ourselves, they really helped us too. So yeah. And the venue was great.
It's a nice new peer group I've met doing comedy as well, isn't it? Because we're kind of 99% of the people I met have been absolutely fantastic. It's like a real supportive peer group. It's great because we're kind of all in the same boat, aren't we?
Definitely, yeah. I always say it's like you're all sharing that experience of like the sinking ship sometimes, you know. And especially with London, you would say like there are so many comedians, like thousands, and no, there's no competition. Like there's no one. You might find one odd or two person that you don't get on with, but more or less you're all supporting each other. You all want the best for each other. Everyone's always sharing each other on social media, and you know, like the vibes and the camaraderie is so fun and makes all of it so much worth it as well.
Oh, it does. Yeah, having a good peer group is fantastic. What do you think of the nights when it's just a room full of other comedians? Because we've all had those on the open mic circuit. They can be tricky, can't they?
They're necessary if you know what to do. So I've made the mistake before. I mean, that night, one of my worst gigs was when I hosted a room full of comedians, and I didn't learn. I have learned from it since, but I didn't know what to do in that situation. Whereas now, if you're performing or you're hosting in a room full of comedians, just go out there with your notebook and just do new stuff, make it worth your while. If you go up with tried and tested material, stuff that you've done in clubs or rooms with 50, 60, 70 people, you're not learning anything. You know that joke goes well. You're just going to be wasting your own night. You could have had a night off. You could have just been watching Netflix at home, you know. So if you
and they're
just
so
use
valuable. Those nights are so
exactly
valuable. If you use them for it,
They're some of my favourite nights as well, to go up there and there's no judgment. You can really just read out your notebook and the comedians will tell you. And they're the best people to get advice from when you're trying a brand new thing. They're the best people. You can't do some sort of semi-professional gig with 70, 80 people and try brand new stuff for the first time.
No, you can't. It all needs testing. If I was booked to do one thing, I wouldn't go there and try new material. I just wouldn't.
Exactly.
It's not the place or time to do it. I remember once there was I can't remember his name, but he's a comedian and he was absolutely blatant about it. He said, it's new material. He said, I've got a paid show on Friday. If you want to pay, I'll be funny then. But right now I'm going to try this. And that was funny in and of itself because it was just so blatant. It's like, I don't give a shit. This is it.
Yeah.
My night. I'm going to use this for me and I don't even care.
I get that. If people have been going long enough, comedy's a hard one where you need to find the balance of are you trying to impress the audience or are you trying to perform for yourself in the way of, you know, no one wants to be told what material to do. I mean, I've had friends that have done gigs and they've been told, do this joke, don't do that joke. And they've been like, well, you can't tell me, I'm a performer, you can't tell me what I can and can't do. But then at the same time,
promoter.
Yeah. But at the same time, with promoters, you don't want to go up there and make the night worse. You know, you want to give material. You want to make the night good for the audience, for the paying customers, for the venue, and all that stuff. So you have to find that balance of either performing what you want to do, but making it still enjoyable for the audience too. You know,
we have the same dilemma in DJing. Because sometimes people say, I want this playlist, okay? And I look at the playlist as a DJ, and I've been doing it 30 years, and I think, that's not going to work. It might please the bride and groom or whoever you're doing the party for, or little Timmy that, you know, always has what he wants, but it just won't work. It just won't. And I know that sometimes. So it's that balance between pleasing the client and and sometimes I've had to make the call and think, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to go off piece. And then, of course, the dance floor fills up and they have a good night. I even say it to clients. Before now. I say, look, how strictly, and you're paying. If you want me to stick strictly to it, that's fine. But from my experience, I can make it a lot better tonight if you'll allow me to do this. Similar
definitely. And especially if you're a professional, you're like, you know, you want to. You're like, this is what I do. This is what I want to do. This is what I'm good at doing. Especially with DJing, if people are just going to give you requests and songs, and they might as well just plug their own phone in. If they're just going to tell you what to play the whole time.
I've been asked that. Can I plug it in? It's like bring your own. I don't take my own food to a restaurant and say, I'll pop
exactly, yeah. Otherwise, why go to a restaurant? You just eat at home anyway.
Exactly.
You know. And that does wind me up, because I haven't had it, but I have had comedians tell me stories of when audiences tell them, you know, do a joke about this or do a joke about that, and it's like that, like a performing monkey thing. It's you know, that's not how it works. You know what I mean?
No, and some audiences are very friendly, and some can be absolutely brutal. Have you done the Blackout yet at Up the Creek?
I've done it twice. Yeah.
Have you been to the Blackout?
I haven't. The first time I come close. The first time, I was really new and I was really nervous, and I kind of like stumbled. I was trying to brush it. I stumbled some of my words and all that stuff. And then you know, I got gonged off, and rightly so. You know, I wasn't ready to. You know, I watched the video back and I was like, yeah, I would have gonged that guy off too a lot earlier. If I was.
I got 4 minutes and 41 seconds. I was 19 seconds out. I was robbed. I tell you, robbed.
Yeah, that is tough. That is, yeah. There's almost.
I've seen people about it.
I've seen people get gonged off at 4 minutes, like 54 or something like that. Like literally.
No, but just to explain to the folks listening and watching, the first 2 minutes are safe. Okay, no, you can't get gonged off there. And then what they do, they pick 3 people in the audience. They give them a big red card. And if 1 card goes up, you get 1 red light, two red lights, 3 red lights off, and the stage blacks out. That's why it's called the Blackout. 4 minutes, 41 seconds. But hey, that's okay. I might go back and have another time. Do you know the legendary stories about Up the Creek? Have you heard these?
I don't think so, actually. No.
When you're Up the Creek, there's a quote on the wall from Malcolm Hardy. Do you remember that? He was the resident compere, and he was a legend for just how cruel, frankly, he could be. Apparently, rumor has it that someone fell asleep in the front row, and the classic story is that he actually peed on them while they were in the front row.
Oh my God! No way.
And apparently the bloke was really pleased. Yeah, I'm part of the show. That's really cool. And the other thing they used to do, they used to have like it was professional nights. They would have, you know, the open spot.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Spot. And what they would do, and they're bringing out brand new comedians who are doing 5 minutes, you know, who just started. And the compere, Malcolm, would say, do you know what time it is? And ring a little bell. And the audience would go, dinner time. And then they'd start chanting, bring on the Christians. Bring on the Christians.
Oh my God.
Come on to that.
Oh, wow. And why did I wonder why they had to stop it.
It's changed now. It's calmed down an awful lot. it's calm. Malcolm Hardy's sadly no longer with us, but his name's immortalised on the wall there. But it's calmed down an awful lot. But honestly, it was that brutal. Question coming in from Katie Harris. Hello, Katie, watching on YouTube. Who are your comedy heroes, Henry Riley?
I've got loads.
Apart
to
from
be
Neil
honest. Yeah. Elaine Blackmore.
She's great.
She is great. No, I'd say Norm Macdonald has always been one of my favourites. You know Norm Macdonald, Neil?
No.
He was a Weekend Update anchor on SNL in the 90s, but also great. He was one of the best stand-up comedians ever.
Right.
He's so funny. His stories. There's a story. Him on Conan. There's a few of when he's been on Conan. He tells like really, really long jokes and then just like silly punchline at the end. I won't ruin it, but look up his moth joke on YouTube after this. He's so funny. And Sean Locke. I love Sean Locke as well.
Oh, Sean Locke. He was fantastic, wasn't he?
He's so funny. I was literally watching a compilation of him earlier today on 8 out of 10 Cat. It's so silly as well, some of his stuff. I watched just one that he was doing about he was doing this joke about watching the football with his kids and how his kids are always just asking silly questions the whole time. And how he just in the end just turned off the football and put on happy feet and just done it back to them. So funny. And I don't know, loads really. What about yours, Neil? What about yours?
I love Bill Bailey. I saw him when he was part of the Rubber Bishops. You familiar with that? This is an age thing, isn't it?
I know Bill Bailey.
He was part of a duo called the Rubber Bishops, and they would come on dressed in cassocks. Bill Bailey had his guitar, and the other guy sang. If you YouTube the Rubber Bishops, and you will see a very young Bill Bailey, and they did parody songs, which is what I do, but they are so funny. And he was hilarious back then, and he's hilarious now, and such a good musician as well. I mean, I saw him at the O2, and he's playing the laser harp. It's just like a harp with lasers instead of strings, and he's playing it with his gloves and doing pop songs on it, doing chart songs on the harp. It's just incredible what he does, and funny. So I love Bill Bailey. There was another duo called the Tracy Brothers, and again they were musical. It's anything musical really. Parody songs and stuff like that. But so many. I like Michael McIntyre. Oh God, so many. Sean Locke, like you say. Jeff Innocent. Love Jeff Innocent.
Yeah, he's great. He's great. He's really good.
He's just he's had a real resurgence because I went to his comedy course at Up the Creek, and
did you? Yeah.
I recommend it if he does another one. Really, really good. He's an absolute master of his art. Lovely guy too. And thanks to social media, his like clips going viral on TikTok. A whole new generation have got into him, and that really buffered up his career again. And he's recently might even still be on it, or recently done a tour, like a UK tour.
Yeah, he's just done a tour. Yeah, I just saw
That's
that.
It. So worth.
Hackney Empire.
Yeah, I remember going with my daughter to a professional compilation show, and he was on it. And the other two were great. I mean, it was other big names like Lee Hurst and people like that.
Yeah, cool.
Jeff was my daughter's clear favourite, so it showed me that he appeals to the younger generation as well.
Oh yeah, he is great.
Fat Scotty, are there any subjects that are personally off limits to you? He's asking us both this, not what someone has told you not to cover. So personally off limits for you.
In a way, there's nothing that I don't really talk about politics or anything like that, not because I think that's off limits, but because I don't know as much as a political comedian does.
I agree. Someone like Ian Stone.
Yeah, or Mark Thomas. I recently performed with Mark Thomas.
Yes, Mark Thomas.
Yeah, I performed with him a few weeks ago at Laugh Cry Comedy Club in Finchley, which is a great gig run by a friend of mine, Shruti. And he was so good. He just come on, as soon as he stepped on stage, he just like demanded like the audience's attention. It was so good the way he just speaks into the microphone. I've never seen really anyone. It's like levels above everyone else. And so he does political comedy so well that I could never. I don't know enough about politics. I studied politics at uni, and even then, I still would never be able to do political comedy because
No, I
I
couldn't.
just
I
feel
mean,
like
I don't know much
all my
about
facts would
politics. I
be
certainly couldn't do it. If
exactly,
it's
yeah,
one of those things, if you're going to do it, it's got to be done right. And those,
yeah,
I was
yeah.
going to say Mark Thomas just before you did. Mark Thomas, Ian Stone are just brilliant.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You got
Political
to know what you're saying. You really got to know your stuff. And so I think for me, political comedy is off limits, but not because I think you can't talk about that stuff. It's just,
Mm.
I can't talk about that stuff.
Yeah, from the point of view that you, like you say, you don't know enough about it. And to answer your question as well, Fat Scotty, I mean, obviously it's self-imposed. I don't find it funny anyway. But obviously, blatant racism, I wouldn't do. Things that
Oh, yeah.
are genuinely unpleasant. That's not funny. That's lost in the 70s.
But yeah, I wouldn't even call that a subject of comedy. That's just bigotry,
Yeah, actually, yeah, we're not in the 1970s anymore. Far, far, far from it. Yeah, no, you're right. So to answer your question, just the obvious things like that, Fat Scotty. I've seen some comedians very cleverly, and these are comedians of color as well. Do Trevor Noah is brilliant at doing it.
Yeah, I love
He
Trevor
talks about
Noah.
very
I love The
sensitive
Daily
stuff.
Show.
Oh yeah, fantastic. Now, he can talk about racism really well and make it funny and make you think as well.
Yeah, well,
Because he's
he
taken
just
the piss out of the racists. He's not being racist. It's the other way around. He's taking the piss out of the racists and doing it brilliantly as well.
Yeah. And he's from South Africa, and he grew up with the apartheid and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And The Daily Show is all political comedians. It's all political comedy. And I studied American politics at uni, and that was during the Trump administration. So I would just spend my whole uni time just watching The Daily Show and Trevor Noah, and that's how I would learn. It's through political. That's why I would always be hesitant to do it, because you look at people like Jon Stewart and Trevor Noah, and you're just like, you can never be as funny talking about politics as them guys. So leave it to the
again, he's got the qualification to do it, and it's done, and it's tasteful as well, and it's poignant. It is thought provoking, and it's very, very funny. But again, that's you've got to be able to do that really, really well to be able to do it. I wouldn't go there personally. Dave Sleet, greetings one and all. Do you both prefer storytelling over gags? I don't mind. I've got a couple of good stories that I like to weave in, as long as other people find them funny, not just me. But for you, Henry?
As an audience member, as a fan of comedy, definitely storytelling, because storytelling, I just find it more unique, more personal. Whereas gags, I love one-liners, don't get me wrong, but if I'm going to watch an hour special of a comedian to listen to their stories, it's almost like listening to their life, but them telling funny stories about their life. But me as a comedian, it depends on the set length. If you're doing 5 minutes, right, at some of these gigs that we do, gags are better because you've got less time and you've got to get as many laughs in as possible. I done downstairs at the King's Head the other week. And
I'm doing that in August. What a venue. Iconic.
It's so good and it's so fun. But if you're only doing 5 minutes there, you've got to just keep hitting them with gags, got to keep making them laugh to make the most of that 5 minutes. But storytelling, if I'm doing a 15-minute set, I enjoy telling stories, especially that we've all had funny experiences in life. And so to share mine, it's unique, and no one else is going to come with them.
Yeah, I've just started seeing someone. I've been dating someone for a couple of months, and we've got this whole routine that needs to be written about middle-aged dating. Because there's so much there is so much in there as compared to dating in your 20s. I haven't thought about it and made it funny yet, but there's an awful lot of stuff in there. It's like everyday experiences, just normal everyday things can.
But that's the thing with storytelling. You got to make sure you're keeping it relatable so the audience can listen and be like, I've gone through a similar experience myself. But also, if sometimes people could tell stories where the start of their story is funny, the end of the story is funny, but the 3 minutes in between isn't.
Yeah.
And so you got to keep hitting them with jokes in the middle of a story. And if you don't, then you've lost the art of
Yeah, good
comedy
call. Yeah, you've
storytelling.
got to keep the momentum going, haven't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Keep them interested, you know.
Now, Graham Pack normally is the comedian, or he thinks he is, and he puts terrible jokes on screen. He's not doing it today, so maybe he's finally showing some respect for the professionals. Graham says, "What are your favourite clubs to perform in London?"
Clubs. Do you know what one I love? Crack comedy. You must have done that in Kingston.
Oh, I love Eric as the MC.
Yeah, Eric is great. Harry
Eric Pacora,
Guerra, Chris
fantastic.
Gray.
Yeah,
Yeah, that venue at Ram Jam Records at the Grey Horse. I love that venue.
it's a
Kingston
great food
is,
venue as well. They do delicious burgers and ribs there. I'll point out.
and they do live music there as well. And I
They
haven't
do.
been to see it, but apparently the live music nights are great as well. They do open mic music, and that's always fun.
Have you
But
played
I
Maths
love.
Club, the Fighting Cocks in Kingston? That's quite a similar room. It's like a rock bar, and it's a
I
similar
haven't done
room
that
to.
one. No,
Yeah, if you
no.
can
I
get in
done
there.
the wagon. I done the wagon with Elaine. That's fun. But that Ram Jam Grey Horse, I love that one. But I do like going to the proper clubs. Downstairs at King's Head, which you just mentioned, that is really fun, and Backyard. But the better the club is, the harder it is to perform. And if you do perform, you're more likely doing a gong show or a competition, which they're not fun to do. You know, the club like Up the Creek's an amazing club to perform at, but if you're only on there for 3 minutes, it's not as fun as doing an open
No,
mic. You know.
although as I say, it's a lot less brutal than it used to be.
Yeah.
I didn't see anyone get peed on when I was there. God, that is absolutely outrageous. Matt Scotty wants to know: do you have any gigs in the Midlands coming up?
In the Midlands, not coming up. No, I'm trying to think. This no would hit. I got Hertfordshire. I got a few in Hertfordshire, but that's a bit below the Midlands. It's in between London and Midlands. I don't have any. I do want to do Leicester Comedy Festival actually in February. So Fat Scotty, if you're about in February time, if I manage to do a split bill with my friend, then please come and Leicester Comedy Festival. But there's a few that I have been trying to get on in like Birmingham area, the Midlands that way, Derby and Nottingham. But at the moment, I've got my schedule booked up for July, and I'm going to have a break in August and September for summer. And then I'm going to go back to it. So hopefully I'm in the Midlands in October, November time. I'm out in the West Country a lot and down south a lot in October, November already. So hopefully I can find space to go up north as well.
Absolutely. And Dave Sleet, is Kingston UK secret comedy central? Not really.
It sounds that way, doesn't it? Yeah.
It does. Yeah, there's the Wagon and Horses, which is a whole lot of comedy club where me and Henry do open mic. The two pro nights and semi-pro nights are not up the creek, outside the box, which is on Mondays at the Fighting Cocks, and like Henry just said, at the Grey Horse.
That's on Sundays.
Sundays, yeah, they're really good. I recommend those.
But actually saying that though,
go on.
I was going to saying that I think doesn't Elaine, because Kingston, I think Mark Simmons is with Elaine with Whole Lot of Comedy. I think he's doing work in progresses in Kingston. I think Elaine's done a lot.
That is on Monday. I'll just check my diary. Actually, that is Monday the 20. It's Monday the 24th. Yes, it is. Yeah, it's actually at the Corner House, which is in Tolworth, which is kind of near Kingston.
Right.
It's a lovely little theatre. It's a theatre just in a residential street. It's a converted church, but it looks absolutely. It's a beautiful venue, and he's on there, work in progress with Fiona Ridgewell, who's one of my favourite female comedians. Do you know Fiona?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's great. She's great. So. Yeah, that's on Monday the 24th. Whole lot of comedy. WHOLE, whole lot of comedy.com if you want to go. And you run your own night as well.
Yes. I've run. To be fair, we're slowing down at one point earlier this about this time last year. I picked up another night, Comedy Tonight in Hammersmith, and at one stage I was running 2 nights a week every week across 3 different venues and trying to gig myself over London and outside London. But now I've kind of had a change of pace after running the marathon. I kind of took a break to run the marathon, and then I've really started focusing on I want to perform myself more and do more semi-pro gigs and get more paid spots outside London and stuff like that. Yeah. So I run a gig every other week, so 2 times a month in Hampstead Heath. called The Other Side, and it's still a really fun night. It's on next Thursday. You can find us on Eventbrite or Instagram, Facebook, The Other Side Comedy, at the Robot Pub in Hampstead Heath, and that is a really fun night. We always try and get good acts on. It's a good open mic. You see brand new people or people who come on.
How many?
15 minutes.
1-5.
Yeah.
1-5.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Robot.
Yeah, the Robot, and that's always a fun night, and it's a great pub and great staff. I love it there a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm playing there as well. Actually, thank you, courtesy
Yes.
of myself
Yes,
and
you'll be there.
Craig Owen, who's a friend of mine and a comedy peer, and that is, I'm just looking, Thursday, July the 11th. So I look forward to seeing you there.
That's
Then.
it. Yeah,
brilliant.
that'd be a good one. That'd be fun.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Now, this question segues quite nicely because we talk about well-being quite a lot on the show, and I noticed you did mention that in your set. Now, comedians are such good storytellers. I never know if it's completely true, embellished a bit, or just made up for comedy purposes. But is there a love of mental health and mental health connection somewhere with you in the set, or
100%? Yeah, 100%. I don't talk about it on stage and as much as I could do, or too often, but yeah, I suffer from depression, anxiety, take medication, all that stuff, and I went through a hard time during lockdown. Well, before that, whole life suffering and stuff like that, but during lockdown, and I went through a really hard time, and the Samaritans were really there for me. So this year, I ran the marathon for them.
fantastic.
And really try to raise awareness and money for them, and I used comedy as a way to do charity events, and it worked so well.
It does.
Ended up raising $2,500 for them. We done about 5 different charity specials across London. All the comedians smashed it. Done raffles, games, quizzes, all that stuff, and it was really fun. It was really good. It was for a great cause. Yeah.
Good stuff. Dave Sleet's into mental wellbeing, supporting entertainers' mental health as a focus of APA's latest support program. We talk about mental wellbeing quite a lot on this show, and I'm very open about it. I had a dip about 4 years ago and just felt in a bit of a mess, but much better now. And to anyone watching, number one, there is support out there. Number two, you're not alone, even though it feels like it. And number three,
100%.
can and do get better, or they learn new strategies, or they learn. We can kind of learn our way out of it sometimes, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, everything's getting so much better now. I think
isn't it?
the more we go on, the more everyone's more open, the way everyone's more honest, and the support networks, and especially like for men's mental health, the kind of like the feelings of it being any sort of negativity was all kind of going away, and there's a lot of big push and promotion, for everyone to kind of speak out and be honest and open, and that's amazing.
Yeah, and which is what I've done on the show, many times. If I'm going to ask people about theirs, it's only fair to be open about mine. But the point is, any mental condition, because of its nature, it feels isolating. It feels like you're the only one, and particularly when you're not. But it just feels that way. And particularly if you look at the socials like Facebook and stuff like that, you could be fooled into thinking everyone in the world's having a great time, apart from me. And I've known people actually get quite depressed by reading other people's Facebook feeds. And I want to say, no, they only put the best bits on there.
100%. Social media is hard. Social media, especially like I always think this time of year is the hardest, because people will be posting non-stop about their holidays, and rightfully so. But those that aren't on holiday, they'll be like, I'm stuck here, and but those people will be back at work the next week, and they just won't post about it. People really do get hard done by it. Always comparing themselves to other people, and the grass is green on the other side kind of thing. But it's not. Everyone's the same. Everyone's in the same boat.
No, I think happiness comes from being the best version of yourself, not trying to outdo other people. I mean, it takes
definitely.
It's taken me a wisdom of many years to work that one out. But actually, the more I just focus on me being happy, then I tend to make other people around me a lot more happy. If you know what I mean. Certainly, rather than trying to compete with them or whatever. But it's an important stuff. What I find reassuring is that people the younger generation, one or two below me. They're now, I think when I was their age, I hate that phrase, makes me sound so old, but mental health was almost like genetic. It was almost like that. We used to believe that very strongly that things ran it, the genetic determination. So if your family's got this in the family, you've got a good chance of getting it as well. And now science has advanced things like epigenetics and saying, no, it's a lot more environmental and there's a lot more to it than that. It's not that simple.
Yeah, of course.
And it was just like in the mental health sphere, it was just like, tough luck if you got ill. But now with the conversation I noticed with young people, and I find it really reassuring, they're talking about their mental health like it's their own domain. And most importantly, that they've got some or quite a lot of say in it. And it's not just like the roll of a random dice or some genetic determination. There is a role they can play in keeping themselves well with the right support and strategies. And like you say, the conversation has opened up an awful lot more, and I find that really reassuring.
Yes, definitely. And you're right, it is, because instead of just handing a box of pills and saying go on your way, which obviously still does happen, unfortunately, but there is a lot more like how to get out of certain situations, what else is going on, like environmentally, like you said, and how to overcome those challenges. And I think those conversations are so vital as much as any other.
And the beautiful thing is, everyone, we can all be mentors for each other, because someone who's been through it can leave a trail for other people, and people
Exactly.
And people can follow that said trail. If one person does it, it opens up the possibility for all of us. So it's a mental health revolution that's happening, and it's about bloody time as well. Dave Sleet says beating the blues in an air-conditioned room can be the toughest challenge. I'm not sure what he means by that. Am I missing something?
I might have read this quote wrong, but I think maybe does it mean be? I don't know. I would say
you're gonna have to explain that one to us, dude.
I would say it means if you're surrounded by others who are cold, it's hard to warm yourself up.
Oh yeah, okay. He's probably frantically typing now and explaining it, so we'll put it on there. When's your next gig, Henry?
Tonight in Deptford.
Where?
Yeah, it's a great gig. I'll shout it out.
In where? Did you say Ilford?
No, Deptford.
Oh, Deptford. Oh, tell me. Yeah. I'll pop it on the screen.
It's called Your Friend and Mine. His name's Jack.
Your Friend and Mine.
Yeah, Your Friend and Mine.
Sorry, say that again. Your Friend and Mine.
Yep, comedy.
And it's Deptford, yeah?
Yeah, it's a competition tonight. It's Jack Scullion runs it. He's a great comedian. And he was running it. It's an open mic, and he was running it every month. And at the end, there was like a clap off. And tonight, he's got all the winners of the clap offs from December to last month. And he's having them all on tonight. And he's crowning the champion of champions. But I opened his first ever show, so he's got me back as a special guest. Because I was Your Friend of Mine first ever comedian, so he's got me back as a little special guest. So I'm opening that tonight, and then on Friday doing another gig in Eltham, also near same area, Deptford as well, called Comedy Tap. That'll be a fun gig. That's an alternative comedy show where it's run by Moss, who is one of the funniest, wackiest, wildest comedians, and I have to shout out Moss, James. He's the nicest guy, and he just is so crazy on stage, and I love that a lot. So that'll be fun on Friday.
Yeah, fantastic. So Your Friend of Mine comedy, if anyone's in the area at Deptford, and that is happening tonight.
That's tonight, yeah, 7:30.
So what's the big dream then? What's the ultimate big dream when you make those dreams of pictures in your mind of where this could lead? Where is it for you?
So many, Neil. Too many.
Tell me.
I mean, I would love just to be comfortable enough, even just as little as being able just to perform every night, make people laugh and enjoy that and be content with that, and just to be known, respected and liked on the circuit, supported and be supportive to everyone else, especially newcomers and stuff like that. But I mean, I would like a proper career from it, of course. I'm not desperate for one. I'm not doing it for that. But of course, yeah, I'd love to be on TV doing comedy, tour around the world, around the country, things like that. But like I
Is
said,
that
I'd
your
be more.
panel show? Is that your thing?
I'd love to. I'd love to be even a guest or a host on a panel show, anything like that. Just what I grew up watching and idolizing in terms of comedy. I'd love to be. I always wanted, growing up, I always wanted to be a writer for film and television. So I would still like to achieve that eventually. But like I said, if nothing but just being a comfortable comedian on the circuit, that is good enough for me as well.
Well, you're doing that already, I would say, my friend. I'd say you fulfilled that pretty much.
Yeah, it's going that way. It's looking well. I'm enjoying it. That's the main thing. That's the
Yeah,
main thing.
absolutely. Do you find it easy to write? Any tips for aspiring comedy writers?
Easy is a tricky word because some days you could just think something just happens and you just think that I can make a joke of that. Other days it might take a week to think of something else that's funny. But the thing is with comedy, I was saying this recently. I went on a podcast the other day and talked about this, how sometimes the little you write the better, because you could just have one joke and just keep improving that one joke over the course of a few weeks.
Yeah.
And just keep doing that. I know people who are still doing the same jokes over the course of 2 years and they're killing it. But I know other people who try and do new stuff every time, but because they're not improving the new stuff, they're always missing the potential that one bit has because they're doing it once and they're throwing it away. So you got to find the balance of both performing and improving the set that you're working on and incorporating new stuff as well. I think if you're a comedian, just jot down. If you're aspiring to be a comedian, have your phone notes open all times and just always put in ideas and notes. And then just at the end of the month, go through it all and see what's good enough, what can be improved, what you want to try out.
Yeah.
Make the
Well, I
most of
like
these.
your idea about improving just one joke, so a bigger
Yeah,
focus on
definitely.
one thing rather than just
Yeah,
trying something once. Because as we discussed earlier, there's so many different genres. What doesn't work in Middlesbrough might kill it in London, and you don't know until you've tried. So it's a question of not throwing it away, keeping it in that amber zone, as I call it, for a
100%.
while.
Yeah, definitely. And that's where the benefit of filming your gigs comes into it as well.
Yes,
Because
very much so.
when you watch it back, you're like, if I just add this one word in or take this one word out, as little as that can change the whole set and make
It
it so
really
much better.
can. Have you read Adam Bloom's book, by the way?
I haven't. I have been meaning to, though. I know everyone else has. I must be the only one who hasn't yet, but I have been meaning to. I do want to. Yeah.
Yeah, I've read, I think, the first chapter. So actually, I need to get back to that. It's also good to record gigs because I sometimes go back to the Folkestone one that I was talking about, and if I need a boost, and I think, oh yeah, come on, Neil, you did that. That's what you can do. Do you know what I mean? And you can
Yeah,
almost bring the feelings back by focusing on that experience again and bringing those feelings back on demand. We talk about that quite a lot on the show. It's kind of NLP stuff, but that's all possible too. Like bringing back great feelings and then going to your next gig with those feelings. It's
Definitely.
useful.
And that is the benefit of what I found with Brighton Fringe as well. Because if now I'm gigging every other day or 2 times a week, you lose that momentum. But with Brighton, I done 2 in one day and I just walked from one gig to another gig. And you're riding the high of doing well or of killing a set. And then you end up doing better at the next set because you've got that momentum already. And that you're not looking for that reassurance. You've already got that. So you're not nervous or anything like
I
that.
know.
And that
Yeah. And
makes
if
all
you can
the
be in the
difference.
place where you're self assured, that's the sweet spot, I suppose, isn't it? If you don't need anything from the audience, then you're just free to play, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's a nice
Yeah.
place to be. Henry Riley on Insta at Henry_Riley, 2Ls. Thank you so much for being on. I've really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you very
Good,
much. Me too.
good luck
Thank you
with
very much,
good luck
Neil.
with everything. I'm performing at your place actually in July with Emily Kay
Yes.
Harris. So
Yes.
we'll be down there to darken your doors. So I shall buy you a cheeky drink when I see you. Would you like the footage of this? Would you like me to send this to you?
Okay. Yeah. That'd be great. Yeah. Thank you
Yeah,
very
by all
much,
means.
Neil. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Good luck with the gig tonight and tomorrow. Good luck with everything, and keep being funny. Keep doing what you're doing, sir.
Cheers, mate. Thank you very much. Thank you,
All the
everyone.
best. Take care. Henry Riley, everyone. Nice. There you go. What a great show. I knew I had to have him on. Right, let's have a look who we got coming up on Wednesdays in the near future. Not going to be here next Wednesday, by the way. I thought I put one in. but I hadn't. Never mind. I need to put that one in. I'll let you know on the Monday show with Russ, but we do have some more fantastic Wednesday shows coming up. Feedback, like Russ was talking about on Monday, if you want more of things or less of things, subjects you'd like to explore a bit more, we can do mental health. Absolutely. I can do that pretty well, but we can do all sorts of things. Anything you'd like a deep dive into, something you'd like to know more about, we can be the mouthpieces and the signposters for it. Thank you for tuning in. A couple of comments to finish off. That's what he meant. Lonely in a room full of people. Yes, I know what you mean by that. Yeah, thank you, Dave. And I think Henry was pretty much onto that, actually. He beat me to it because I didn't actually know what you mean. But yeah, that makes sense now. Thank you, Dave. And indeed, thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Russ is back on Friday with Phil Dave and Jonathan Baz and Screen Queen Chantel Rickards. Oh, and by the way, a quick thank you. I know Russ asked you for likes, so Facebook changed their rules. We needed 100 likes to be able to stream on Facebook. We didn't get 100. We got 400. So thank you so much for that. So we're now streaming well and truly on Facebook. So thanks for your support. We couldn't do it without you, and we won't be, because we'll be joining you. Oh, you'll be joining us hopefully on Friday, and I'll see you. I won't see you next Monday. I'm away next Monday and Wednesday. More of my daughter getting married, extended celebrations, and I don't blame her. So lots of love, Ashley, and congratulations once again. But I'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. You take care. Good afternoon.